Hi. Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer Stay. This is Coloring Bliss. I have little Rose here with me, and I don't think she's going to spend much time here next to me today. She kind of wants to
get down.
Yeah, she wants to be on the floor today. I also have Steve, my business partner and husband, here.
Hi everybody.
And he's here because he's excited to see these magical paints do amazing things to our backgrounds. And I've been playing with these paints, having so much fun with them. So let's talk about the Kuretake Gansai Tambi Granulating paints. It's a mouthful. Alright, just a minute before we get going on this video, I wanted to mention to all of you who do coloring or card making, maybe you haven't dabbled in watercolor before, I want to encourage you to give this product a try because it really does some magical and exciting things, and I'm going to teach you how to do it so you don't have to feel nervous about it. And you can try it on almost any kind of paper. I got amazing effects on everything I tried. So this is a really fun opportunity for you to try something new and see what kind of magic you can bring to your art. Alright, in front of me here we have a box that says Soho. This is not the Soho Urban Artist Soft Pastels inside this box. Instead, I have been collecting the Kuretake paints for a very long time, and I keep them all in this box. Isn't that beautiful?
Oh, that's so pretty.
We have the starry colors, the gem colors, the amazing opal colors, the pearl colors, and the very unique graphite colors. This is a different brand. This isn't Kuretake, but it fit in here, so that's why it's in here. But it might have to go now because now we have the granulating colors. Now, these have been out for a while, for a few months, but I had a hard time getting my hands on them. They were back ordered from Japan. I had to wait for a month. I got impatient, so I ended up ordering another set from US Art Supplies. And then I ended up with 2 sets in my art studio. They came within just a few days of each other, so after months of waiting, I now have 2 sets, which I'm quite happy with because I'm already at the bottom of this pan because I've been using them and playing with them so much. Now, I'm happy to report that they are very readily available here in the US on Amazon now. So if you go and purchase one of these after watching this video, you're not going to have to wait months like I did. And they're a little bit less expensive than when I purchased them now. So I've seen them anywhere from $25 down to $18 for this set right here. And I ended up having 2 different boxes. We're going to do an unboxing here and I'll show you the differences between the 2 boxes. One is in all Japanese and then this one has some English mixed in as well. So let's do an unboxing and take a close look at the Gansai Tambi Kuretake Granulating paints. Alright, while you're watching this unboxing, let's talk about what granulating actually is. So here's a definition for you. It's a textural effect that occurs when pigments in paint settle into the paper. They often clump together in uneven dispersals so that you get a really magical effect. Now, it's really important to understand the difference between pigments and dyes because these paints are using actual pigments. Pigments are solid colorants where a dye is a liquid colorant. So you can't get this effect with a liquid, but you can when you have solid little pigments that are all irregularly shaped and maybe they're a little larger than normal pigments. And so when they get into the wet water, they separate and they do so many magical things. And typically they work best when you're using a wet on wet effect, and we'll talk more about that later. Alright, so you've seen the paints unboxed. Now we've got a lot of things I want to do with them. I want to do some swatching and testing, and there's basically 3 things I want to test on different types of papers, because when you read about these paints they encourage you to try different papers because you'll get different effects. If you have a really grainy paper with lots of hills and valleys in it, you'll get different effects because the pigments are laying into the valleys in different ways. But if you use a really smooth paper like our marker paper, what will it do on that? And so I wanted to know how these pigments in these paints were going to play on all different types of papers that I have. And then I also wanted to try 3 different painting methods. The first is wet on dry, where you actually take a wet brush, dip it into the pan, and then take that and paint it onto dry paper. So that was one way I wanted to see it. The next is wet on wet. For that, you take a brush that's wet with clean water, you put a little pool of water on your paper, and then you take your wet brush, you pick up the color, and you put it into the water. This is where magic happens, and I can't wait. Steve's going to have fun editing this footage because the paint just explodes and the colors just go right and left and everywhere. And they do it differently depending on the paper. It's really, really fun. Now, the third thing I wanted to see was how it worked diluted onto dry. So this is a little different than wet on wet, because what I'm going to do is take some paint, and I did it in these little bowls that you can see in front of me here. I put the paint into these little dishes, added a whole bunch of water into it, mixed it up really good, and then used that mix that's really diluted and put it straight onto paper to see what that would do. And I'm telling you, all 3 methods did different magical things, and every piece of paper did a different magical thing. So it was so much fun to watch how this turned out. So let's roll some testing, sit back, enjoy the magic of how it looks, and then when we come back, I'll tell you how I did the painting on the back wall, which has the beautiful paints on it. And we'll talk about these dishes too. Aren't they fun and pretty? Okay, go and watch the swatching. All right, so once I finished all that really fun testing, I let these little dishes dry because I wanted to see what would happen. They had a whole bunch of paint left in them, and I didn't want that paint to go to waste. So I ended up taking some watercolor paper. This is cotton watercolor paper. I have some footage of doing this, so I'm going to roll that footage here in just a minute, but I wanted to show you how pretty these all turned out. This is the red. I think this is the pink. Yeah. This is the orange. You can see the different colors, the different pigments. Oh, it's just really satisfying. Here is the blue with orange, which is really interesting that they put blue and orange together because they're complementary colors. And then here's the violet, which is just soft and really lovely with the blues and the pinks. And then you get the violet coming through. Wow, so pretty. Look at really cool. So that's how the pigments are separating, and you can even see it here in my water, my dirty rinse water. It has separated too, the pigments down inside. But these are beautiful. So here's the violet, the blue, the orange, the pink, and the red. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about how a lot of these feel sort of similar. They're very different from each other, but they also feel similar. We'll talk about whether I like that or not. But first, I wanted to roll the footage of how I made these beautiful things, because that's magical to watch. Okay, let's put these away. I want to look really closely at our swatch charts that I did. Remember, I tried different kinds of papers here, and I did 3 different methods: the wet on dry, wet on wet, and the diluted to the dry. That's what you're looking at right here. And then there's the 5 different colors. So we have red, pink, orange, blue, and violet. Every page is laid out the same way. And some of them are more crinkly than others. I want to remind you that you can always iron your pages if they get a little out of control like this. Just flip it over, put on like a cotton terry towel over the paper, and with low heat, just give it a little bit of love, and it should come a lot more straight than what you're seeing right here. So this paper here is our mixed media paper. The first 3 papers I'm going to show you are the 3 papers we typically recommend here at Coloring Bliss. So I wanted to see how these 3 particular papers worked with this. Can I use it on our mixed media paper? Can I use it with our marker paper? Can I use it with our color pencil paper? So let's take a look at the beautiful effects and how you can see the different colors and pigments all coming up even on mixed media paper here. So this is paper that is not intended for watercolor. You can see it didn't come through, it didn't ghost, because this is a nice 100-pound mixed media paper. Look especially at the diluted to dry bottom row there. Look how pretty the colors are, soft and magical. Remember, this kind of paint you don't necessarily want to try to control. You want to let it play and do what it wants to do. So these were all done and then allowed to completely air dry. Here is the marker paper. It's an incredibly smooth paper, and look how amazing it looks on here. So soft. Again, I think my favorite row is the diluted to the dry. So soft and pretty. That would be such a pretty background on any marker coloring page. And then I was super surprised and delighted by how my color pencil paper worked out. Look at the blues coming out in the blue and the pink. This one, because it has more texture, we definitely got more of the pigments doing its magic, where they all kind of clump together and do pretty things. So on this page, my favorite was the wet on wet, because we're starting to get those magical little explosions of color that you can't really control, but you can encourage to happen. So pretty. Now here we have a couple watercolor papers. This is our watercolor paper here at Coloring Bliss. It's 140-pound. Beautiful watercolor paper. It's not the highest, greatest quality you can get in the whole world, but it's amazing, and it goes through our printers.
And it's a cellulose paper, right?
Yeah, and look how pretty. See the explosions of color I got in the different areas on the wet on wet. It's so pretty. Look at the red. I mean, oh, the little blossoms and the way the color, the pigments just settled in there is just so satisfying. And of course, look how pretty the diluted row is too. So pretty. Look at that. Magical, magical. And then finally, I wanted to try it on a cotton watercolor paper. My best watercolor paper that I have is Arches. So this is the Arches cold press 140 pound. Cold press means it has more texture than hot press. It's just a different way of manufacturing the paper. And oh boy, look at the beautiful granulations we got here on that middle row, that wet on wet. It just really had a fun time, that those pigments did. And there's that bottom, the bottom row is just so subtle and soft and delicious. It's just so good. And even we got some granulating up here where I was doing the wet on dry technique. So that's how the swatching turned out. I learned so much. Like I said, you can do it on any paper and you're going to get some kind of cool effect. So that's really exciting. So you could try it in any coloring book. Remember though that water is going to warp paper. It even warps the Mighty Arches paper. It's just normal for that to happen. So plan for the warping and don't be discouraged when it happens. So, you know, test a paper so that you feel good about going into a coloring book with it. We learned that all three painting techniques had a place and had a different effect. And so at this point, what I wanted to do was actually take what I learned to a coloring page and see what happens when you apply these techniques, the three different techniques, onto a certain coloring page. So I'm going to roll some footage now. We're going to watch how I created that coloring page there on the back wall. So this coloring page is printed on watercolor paper. This is an entire book printed on watercolor paper. And I picked this one because it had a lot of big empty spaces that we could play with the granulation. Got to give that paint room to move. So to begin, I'm going to do a wet on wet technique. Now when I did my swatches on the watercolor paper, I really liked the way the wet on wet technique worked with the Aurora Pink. So that's where we're going to start, in the lattice area with clean water, and just fill the whole area with clean, beautiful water. And I move the book in the light so I can see and make sure that I got the entire area fully hydrated with the water. Next up is to bring in the paint, and I went straight into the pan for the Aurora Pink. Didn't dilute it, just went straight from the pan and onto the watered area on the coloring page. And oh, it was so fun to watch that granulating paint spread and start to change immediately. So satisfying. Now I did let it sit there for quite a while, just to let all the granulation do its magic. But eventually I got a little tired of waiting and I really liked the way it looked, so I ended up taking my dryer, my blow dryer, and drying it down to bone dry so that we're ready for the next step. For the next step, I'm going to take the Aurora Pink and I'm going to do the paint onto the dry now. Ooh, I just saw the bottom of that pan. That's the first time I've seen the bottom of any of these pans. So what I'd like to do is to really accentuate the lattice pattern. So I'm going to go in and paint every other square with the Aurora Pink. And I'm going to, I like that darkness better. So we'll lift some of this out and apply it over here. Let me show you from the other angle. So basically I'm just layering it up to help that Aurora Pink have a little bit more impact on every other little lattice square. I think that will make for a really pretty background. Alright, I'm just going to go around and hit every other square, and let's see what effect we get by doing it this way. Now that I've got all of the diamonds painted the way I wanted them, it's time to let it dry again and let the granulation do its job. But as soon as I feel like it's kind of stopped granulating and I like the effect I'm seeing, I can seal it with my blow dryer and we can move on to the next step, which is this border here and this border here around the flower mandala in the center. I want to do something with another one of the granulating paints, so I'm going to look at our swatch chart. This is the one done on this same type of paper, so we'll be able to see what it's going to do. You can see this is the pink, and this is the effect we got here with the pink, the darker and the wash. Oh, it's just so pretty. I'm tempted to do a diluted in here in the center. Ooh, I like that idea. Okay, we're going to do it. I'm going to make a diluted mixture of the Aurora pink, and we're just going to lay in a really light layer of it here on the behind the flowers. One really good thing about working on this type of paper in this type of book is that the printed lines repel the water. So as long as you're gentle and careful, the water and the paint isn't going to spill over the lines, or if it does, it spills very little. So it's really handy that way. Alright, I was originally thinking of doing more of the granulating paint in these two areas, but I'm feeling like we need like a space for the eyes to rest from the granulation. So I've grabbed my Paul Rubens glitter set, the metallics, and that's this set here. And let's take a look at what of these colors would look good. Ooh, that deep interference yellow I kind of like. Yeah, let's go for deep interference yellow. That's the square right here. And my set, so I'm going to get it wet. And move that box out of the way. And I'm going to go ahead and paint this border here and this border here, and then we'll play with the flowers in the center. Alright, we're almost done with this really fun page. Can't wait to see it with the blue tape off. I want to color up these little daisies here in the center with the deepest color of the background here. So I grabbed a couple color pencils using my pencil chart, my swatch chart. I compared the pencil colors to these colors that I was getting, and I decided to pick two colors for the petals on all the little flowers. I picked Prismacolor Premier Dahlia Purple number PC 1009 and Black Grape PC 996. And then for the little leaves, I want to bring out that sort of greenish color that you can see ever so often in the granulated paint. So for that, I grabbed these two pencils. We've got these two pencils here, Cobalt Turquoise PC 105 and Parrot Green PC 1006. So I think those will look really pretty in the leaves. And then for the center of the flowers, right now I'm leaning towards bringing back that gold and having all the centers be gold. So we'll see how I feel about it once we get the daisies colored. Let's start coloring. So to color the leaves, I'm doing a simple two-color blend, the lighter of the two greens, or the parrot green, out here towards the tip of the leaf. And then up close to the daisy petals, I'm bringing in the cobalt turquoise, which is a darker, beautiful green, blue-green color. And now we're working on watercolor paper, so it's quite textured. So right now you can see there's lots of little white spots that we need to get rid of so that it has a nice smooth look like this leaf does. So to help with that, I'm using my Prismacolor Premier Colorless Blender number PC1007. And starting in the darkest area, I'm using heavy pressure and tiny little circular movements, and then moving from the dark towards the light, and just pressing that color pencil into the cracks of the paper, and there we have a nice smooth leaf. I'm going to repeat that all the way around. Alright, to color the flower, I'm using the two purple colors I already told you about. We'll start out with Dahlia Purple, and I'm coloring in the whole petal, just like this. Pretty fast coloring. And then coming in with the darker purple, the Black Grape, right up next close to the center. And then I'm going to take my colorless blender again, and with heavy pressure, again in small circles, starting from the center and moving towards the lighter part of the petal, I'm just going to blend it out and press those pigments down into the cracks of the paper. Now my hand is already getting tired from doing this. It's not one of my favorite blending methods, but it's a handy one if you don't want to use any solvents, and it works really well. So I am feeling like this flower turned out a little dark, so if I don't know what I would do to change it at this point. Hopefully it'll look a little more balanced once all of the flowers are the same color. Alright, let's color some flowers. I decided that they are a little too dark, so I'm grabbing PC938, or good old-fashioned white, and I'm adding white to the tips of each petal. And this is tinting the purple color and giving us a lighter effect. I think it's pretty. And I think it matches what's going on out here in the argyle lattice background that we created. I think it's really matching well. Alright, we have one thing left to do before we can pull the tape, and that's the center of the flowers. So I'm going to pull out my Paul Rubens, the glitter set again. And we'll use the same color, that interference yellow, and hurry and paint in the centers. It won't take long at all. I'm ready to start pulling the tape, and let's see how this finished piece looks. I love this part. I think everybody I know that ever uses tape like this loves this part the most. There we go. Take our cutting board away. It's just a simple Dollar Tree cutting board. Works so great as a surface to work on when you're doing this kind of thing. And there it is. Let me move it in the light so you can see the shine. But most importantly, let's take a close look at how pretty that beautiful granulating paint looks as a background. It is so stunning. So simple, and yet it looks so complicated, and like I put in hours of work with different colors, and oh, it's such a great trick, and boy, is it pretty. Look at that. So pretty. I do like how the flowers turned out, and I like the green in the center. It's very, it really guides your eye right to the center of the mandala. It's really pretty. Now that I'm looking at it some more, I have one more thing I think I want to do. And I think I want to add a little black shading just with a black Prismacolor pencil. Just to give it a little dimension and let it pop off the mandala, pop off the page a little bit more. So I'm just going to use really light pressure and add a bit of a shadow. Okay, so I'll be back in a second. Alright, so now you've seen how I created this page, and it went really fast because I was doing watercolor. You can fill in large areas really fast, and that was very satisfying, especially in a big background like this. One thing I wish I had done different on this page, the only place I pulled the green, like I said, I pulled the green for the leaves out of the green in the background. There's that green that's subtly back there. But I wish I had put this green in maybe one more place. I feel like it's a little like stunning, this green right in the middle, and I don't know if it works as well as I wanted to. So I wish I had gone back, and this border right here, I wish I had colored it with the green. I think that would be really pretty. Maybe I'll do that.
Cool looking though.
Yeah, let me move it in the light so you can see the gold that I added. And let's look at it nice up and close so you can see that background. Look at it. Like I said, you can't control it, but you can encourage an effect that you want. That's how this happened. All this background. It's so pretty. You can see the greens. I tried adding that shadow. Not sure if I'm a fan of that shadow or not. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. So pretty. And I love how the little flowers turned out, especially after adding the white. And you can see that flash as I move it in the light. So, what is my final thought on this paint? I wish that the colors were a little bit more distinct from each other. They are quite similar as far as like the pink and the red especially are really similar colors. So I wish that since we only get 5 instead of 6 pans, I wish we had 5 very distinct ones. That orange is very distinct from the others. That's kind of what I'm talking about. I wish maybe there was a really punchy green. That kind of thing would be really interesting. I'm wondering if they're planning on bringing out more colors because there are more granulating colors out there that they could pull from. So maybe we're going to get a second box in the future, especially where this has been so popular. So my advice is to buy it. I love it. It's only 20 bucks here in the US on Amazon. You can bring them in, play with them, swatch them, be really expressive with them. Don't try to control them. Don't feel like it has to be perfect, and see what magic you can create in your art. It's really a lot of fun, and I'm really quite happy that I have 2 boxes of them, because I think the more I use them up, the more I'll be excited to pull from the next box. So okay, so I'll put links to this product here in the video description so that you can follow it and check it out. Remember, we're not sponsored by Kuretake. I bought all these paints, these beautiful products, with my own money so that I could experiment and learn from them, so I can pass on to you how to use these types of products in your art. I'm so glad that you're all here with us. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out, and don't forget to subscribe. We are tantalizingly close to our 100,000 subscriber goal, and so if you could help me out, that would be fantastic. I hope you have fun with this magical paint, and I hope you have a wonderful, colorful, blissful day. Bye-bye, everyone.